That's bullshit.
Hey guys, this is Chris Nellis from C-SERPENTS coming to you on the Ballsh podcast.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Well, good evening, everybody, and those who are likewise the survivors of another hurricane that hit Florida, and in this case, Puerto Rico. And we're going to talk about that a lot tonight with tonight's guest. But before we get there, let's go to the folks that have been waiting for the start. Will's Hella Heat at 5:38 p.m. I refuse to believe you were sitting here waiting that long, but it is what it is. He's in. Quirky, what's up? The Mofongo from Puerto Rico is here and in the waiting room. So you do not have to worry. Genomic Bullshit is here. Michael, good to see you. This motherfucker right here can finally shut up and leave me alone. Peter, all the way in Russia. Here you go, buddy. This one's for you. And you, not you only. It's for you and Shane Kelly and like how many other people love the fact that I was going to have this guy on. So there you go. We'll jump right over to him. There he is, Mr. Shane Kelly in the house. Strange Creations, thanks a lot for sponsoring and for coming by. Same to you, Shane Kelly. Gilly, good to see you. Keep it on. You missed Tuesday, but that's okay. You were in Arlington all weekend. We forgive you. Savages, you are here, and it's good to see you here. I don't know if I've got anybody else. Mike, May Reptiles, good to see you. Lou Balls, and the newest sponsor of what is the Bullshit Podcast Off Topic Tuesday, Eileen from Bravo Zulu Ball Pythons. And with that, I'm going to go shoot over to the sponsors and run through them real quick. Reptiles to you, the official shipping sponsor of the Bullshit Podcast and of Exotics by Nature. We shipped out a surprise for Phil Goss's surprise for Tinley Park yesterday to a special friend today who happens to be extremely excited about what he received and is going to be debuting that at the auction at Tinley, I guess, is when that's going to be. So you guys will have to tell me how that goes because I'm not going to be there. Hey, Granddaddy, how's it going? And Lucas, good to see you. And look at that. We love Ron. They all love you, dude. They all love you. So you're coming on soon. But in the meantime, go to reptiles2u.com, fill out a membership, log in, rank up your shipments, and type in ball in caps, BALL 0922 at checkout for 20% off of all of your shipments for that checkout. It's good for 3 checkouts until now, between now and the end of the year. Reptiles to you. We love Debbie and what she does for us. Morph Market. We love John and all of John's people and what they do for us. In fact, look, I've even got an unread, unanswered message here in my message folder I'm going to get to after the show and hopefully close a sale on this wonderful motherfucking website right here. Thanks to my boy, John Lehman. I am so happy you were looking for that family pet, bro, and you could not find it, and you decided to create this formidable motherfucking adversary of a website and get it out to all of us to use. So if you don't have a Morph Market account, get one. And if you don't have your animals on Morph Market, why do you have an account? Put them on it. Sell them. Chris at C-SERPENTS, he's got plenty of business, but here he is, the sponsor of this shithole. Rack systems, incubators, accessories, which are really just things made by his friends that he likes to sell. But hey, go support a good guy. If you're looking for some plastic racks with all of your favorite tubs, Vision, I believe mostly Vision and Container Store. He's not even doing the Freedom Breeder tubs and stuff like that, but he's killing it with all that shit. Go check out my boy at cserpents.com. US Arc, check them out. I hope after this Tinley Park thing, I can finally next week get everything figured out with painting. The seasons have changed here in Louisiana, and provided we don't get a fucking hurricane, I just realized I'm all blurted out by your sponsor logos over here on the side. I'm glad these went over my face this time, guys. You know what I'll even do? I'll even dial you out for a minute. You don't even get to it now. I'll bring you back. I love you more than I love seeing me. All you need to do is hear my voice. Go to usarc.org, motherfuckers, and join. I've had to bring back the F-bomb. I'm forcing myself to curse right now. Infinite possible pythons. Nathan, I've got no curse words for you. Thank you for being a sponsor for the Bullshit podcast. Oh, there was a curse word. I said shit. John Woodruff, did you get a bunch of t-shirt people to submit to this Ohio Breeders t-shirt thing? Or did these horrible pictures of this rigor mortis dead rat scare them away from your webpage? I'm not sure. But anyway, if this didn't scare them away, this shit creeps me out. Like, this show creeps me out. Like, I had so many mixed emotions over the first episode that I stopped right there. Like, I don't know if you guys are watching the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix, but wow. If I live next to one of you fuckers and it smells like bodies, like that poor old lady said it smelled, motherfucker, I'm going in there when you're not home. I'm just doing it. I'm breaking into your fucking house when you're not home. That was just disturbing. Reptile Collective. Less disturbing the fact that he's posted one photo on Instagram since last week. Good job. Thanks, Steve Beamer, for being an awesome podcast sponsor. More of an awesome podcast sponsor than an Instagram poster. Savage. They shared. There he is. The man. He's loved by so many. Or is it me that's loved? I think it's really their dollar that they loved, Ron. I don't think they loved me or you. I think they're just here to promote this one right there. That one. Yeah. It's so hard to do. I still haven't figured it out, but I'm not going to be a weatherman anytime soon. Shane Kelly. The horrible shout outs. This one right here, dude. This is worth a shout out. Shane just celebrated 5 years sober. For anybody out there that's looking for the way, that man knows the way. And all of you badass Mandalorians out there that need to know it, follow Shane, because Shane knows how to do it. With 16,000 followers, Shane, I'm glad to have you here, bro. I'm so glad you're proud of your sobriety, man. I've lived a mostly straight edge life, and I'm proud of it. Mostly, I don't know. Yeah, I am. I can't say I want to be. I can't say I want to be a worse for it, but I am proud of you, bro, and I support it. Thank you very much for supporting me. You've always got it from me. Strange, you've got my support. Even though you don't have a cool chip on your page to show me, you've got this guy, and he's not a chip on my shoulder. Mr. Ron Heisenbergh, or Edwin, whatever his real name is. Welcome to the Ball Shit Podcast, sir.
Freaking amazing. Thank you very, very much. I'm super excited, man.
And he's coming to us in the middle of hurricane blackout, guys. This is not a contender for Mark Mandick's prison scene. Did you see that shit? Did you see him in that orange shirt when he went inside? Dude, it looks like he was a death row inmate. It looks like we pulled Mark Mandick straight off a death row and started talking to him. So thanks for not wearing orange in your dark background.
Thank you very much.
How are you this evening with your, how many? Tell us how long without power. I know, guys, but he's going to tell you. Uh-oh, we froze. So here's the deal. We're going to have to be working on this tonight because there we go. We got the living man again. He's back.
It was
how
turbulence.
long without power?
Yeah, turbulence. Excuse me.
No problem. No problem. We got it. You're not in extreme Canada. You have an excuse, sir. You are in a 2-week power outage.
And you know how long it's going to last. I mean, like, this is not our first go around with hurricanes. So we're basically used to, being without power. That's what I guess we're known for.
Well, you look great. How's the weather?
It's humid. It's great for ball pythons, as a matter of fact. Breeding season, we're basically just about to kick off the following month, so this is like the perfect climate for it.
Oh yeah,
anything besides that,
ready to fuck, man. Those animals are solid, ready to go.
Yeah, whatever besides that, it's basically beach weather.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I always like an Atlantic breeze. You got to know what it's like being on this Gulf Coast, brother. It's fucking shitty. It's shitty getting the farts of all of you Puerto Ricans that had too much food to eat or something. I don't know. Yeah, we get
Well,
all
I'm on the
them
south side
good
of the
hot
island, so
farts.
I get the Caribbean breeze because I'm on the
Ah,
south side. The
so
north
that's a
side
warmer
faces the
breeze.
Atlantic, so anything that's coming up your way, it has to be probably Kenny Aponte.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's Kenny Aponte, right? But
Yeah.
that's just him talking, right? Because Kenny likes to do that too, right? Kenny Aponte, the bullshit podcast of Puerto Rico. I know he did some translations of my old stuff, did he not? Like back in the day, and he put out some translations of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, he
Yeah, of
did, as a
stuff
matter of
I
fact.
did,
Yeah.
and a few, maybe even Chris Eaton's stuff. I'm not sure if he did any of Chris's stuff,
Yeah,
but
he did,
yeah,
as a matter of fact. I mean, like, I
man.
remember when he was posted it on Facebook, the translation. But heck, I enjoyed it, basically the original version.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I wish I could speak Spanish. I really do. I think it is an absolute obscene thing. Now, this is obviously my grown-up opinion. I think probably when I was a kid, I probably didn't have this opinion, right? When I had to do the schoolwork and actually come home from school and do the homework and learn, I probably didn't like this idea. But now that I'm a grown person, I believe that since we are completely conjoined to a continent that speaks another language, that we should all have to speak that language. I do believe that that is something. So, like any bilinguals, I don't care what you are. I admire the fuck out of you. Okay. I am not even a single lingual, my bro. I can't even get this one straight. I can't. I find myself talking to people in the UK and them gonna being like, what the fuck did he just mean by that? Yeah. So look, when Kenny told me he was translating, now look, Phil Schneider piped up and said, I'm bilingual. It's great. Sanglish or Spanglish or whatever you want to call it. Bro, I spoke Changlish or Twanglish because my first fiance was of 10 years was Taiwanese. And she would talk to her mom on the phone only in Taiwanese. And I had to hear every other word was either Macy's or shopping or sale or Macy's or Thursday or money or Macy's. And so I was able to speak Chinese after a while, figuring out all the English language that was kind of jammed in there. So if you guys Spanglish around me, I can probably get it. And I know the word gringo really well. Like I know that word. Yeah, I identify. But yeah, man. So is Spanish, and English your only languages, or do you speak Russian when you talk to Peter behind closed doors?
Oh God, believe it or not, Russian is not a language that I try to interchange with him, especially with things that's going on. So I make sure I keep it strictly English. Peter messes around and he tries to trick me around with Portuguese. And growing up in New York City, it was real easy to pick up Italian. So basically, I would have to say those three languages: English, some Italian, and Spanish is my forte.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man, that's fucking great. That's fucking great. I wish we learned more here. They have a bad enough time teaching us just to graduate, much less the rest of it. But yeah, I guess that's the 48 problem, like we were talking about earlier. But let's go back to that. Let's go back to you in the beginning of your days of ball pythons. You said you started when? Or maybe not
Um,
ball pythons, reptiles in general. Let's not just be a ball python thing.
well, I mean, like if we want to talk about reptiles, I mean, like what kid hasn't grown up with a fascination? Starting out with something. I remember starting out with a garter snake in Petland Discount when I was growing up in New York City, and there was basically that typical classroom pet that they would let you take home for the weekend and play
Okay.
around with, and then just bring it back if you're lucky enough to bring it back alive, or if your mother didn't flush it down the toilet. Um,
Quirky wants to know where in New York City.
New York City, Manhattan,
In the
Lower East
city,
Side.
Manhattan. Okay.
Yeah,
Lower
Lower
East
East Side,
Side.
Manhattan.
There you go. Something I don't want to
Um,
know anything about. Ha!
yeah, and actually, the furthest I could have got with a pet living in New York City was basically your window stool pigeons,
Mm,
and when my mother would ship us occasionally to Puerto Rico over the summer, that's when I got my bigger interactions with different types of reptiles native to here, Puerto Rico. Um, Fast forward to adulthood when basically I could actually buy my own things. 2012 is when I had my first interaction with a ball python, which in fact was from Kenny Aponte. You know, I bought my first snake from him, and I have to say he was the one that popped my cherry in all this.
Shout out to Kenny Aponte. I'll have to tag him in Facebook and stuff on this thing. I'm surprised. I would hope that he would come and join us in Hurricane Land over there. Maybe for a podcast jointly one day between the two of you. Because I'd love to talk to you both about more about the history of Puerto Rican business, but we're going to talk to you tonight about that. And so Kenny did a lot for you in the earlier days. It sounds like he was a pretty big hinge pin and things. So
Yeah, like
good having
I
him
started
there.
2012, but like I said, I mentioned this before, there was a lot of people within the island that were more invested, not only as time, but their collection. And when I started, I have to say I was like most people that still exist right now, not even in Puerto Rico, but stateside, when they deal with ball pythons, they have no idea anything exists beyond a pastel. You know, that was my upbringing to all this. So when Kenny actually gave me my first ball python in 2012, I was basically going into YouTube and the internet just trying to get the basics about how to raise it and how to care for it and the feeding and things like that. You know, when I got that ball python, I figured that it would probably eat sausage links or chicks. You know, I wasn't that into depth about it at all.
And it probably would eat sausage links or chicks, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like heck, that's what people like to push down it now, just to basically avoid the live feeding.
Or, I mean, yeah, sure. I'm personally a big fan of feeding whole prey with stomach contents and things like that. I believe it has a lot to do with the health and the wealth of the animal overall. But I had a customer and friend of mine tell me this week that their ball python ate chicken strips, thawed, raw chicken strips. They took it. And that's pretty impressive. But then again, it's an animal that's probably not going to walk by a whole lot, right? I mean, it lives in Africa. It's going to take advantage of what it can take advantage of. But even then, rodent feeding, how's that go down in Puerto Rico? I mean, you got to raise a lot of rodents for yourself. Do you have rodent suppliers? What's it look like?
Yeah, basically, I raised up my own feeders.
Okay. That
And
probably
that's
makes a lot
another
of
thing.
sense.
Yeah, that's another thing I have to say, and I have to give props again back to Kenny because he is the connect with Bob Boo, and Bob Boo actually sends him the rodent pellets, the rodent feeds. Before that, we were using Missouri blocks. Missouri blocks here is like really, really expensive. Like a bag, just to give you an idea, a 50-pound bag would cost roughly around $50. Because Kenny made a connection with Bob Boo and he had a steady stream. We're doing FRM, the rodent blocks that he uses, and it's a lot more cheaper. It's not comparative. It's not the same prices that you
A
would
hell of
find
a lot
stateside.
cheaper. It was engineered as a pig food originally, and then put into a rodent block, I believe, the FRM.
Well,
So it makes
just
it
to give
way
you an
cheaper.
idea, before that, I was actually feeding my rodents pig feed.
Okay.
Now, the
Yeah,
only
the
problem with the
FRM
pig
was
feed, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you go right ahead. There's a little bit of a lag, but go right ahead.
Yeah, the pig feed that I was using, they weren't blocks. So it would basically waste a lot more quicker.
Right.
So I had problems basically maintaining the expenditure not to go beyond what I was actually investing buying up. But I was fortunate enough to basically hook up with the FRMs.
Was some breeders in the Gulf South were using FRM pig food and bought so much of it that convinced FRM to put it into a rodent pellet size block and do some minor tweaking in it from what I understood. But, man, I'm glad you were able to facilitate that though, because obviously that just goes to show you that little bitty things like infrastructure that American hobbyists don't even consider as a possible problem as a huge hinge pin in your operation. And I think that's important for people to know. I think it's important for people to appreciate the fact that in these other countries like Puerto Rico or Mother Russia, right, to shout out to Peter, it can't always be easy sourcing everything that we have here to our abilities. I mean, we have so many rodent food options. It's ridiculous. I mean, some people might not think so, but you don't know what you have option wise until you try to get it. And then you don't try to get it until you run bare of it, which people in Ron's situation here happen to have to deal with all the time, right? It can't just be rodent food. It's got to also be the source of brooder stock of rodents. I mean, it can't be easy to find just like extra strains, new strains of rats and mice, just right. I mean, what other real hardships have you seen there in your eyes as a keeper?
Well,
Because obviously
biggest,
Bob Vu is enabling you in a big way, but like what other infrastructure do you think you could really utilize?
you know, I gotta say that the biggest problem, and this is island wide. This is really
Mhm.
island wide, and it goes back to rodents and the feeders. Within the summer months, I'd say from June all the way up till November, that's our hottest climates.
Mhm.
And it's very, very hard to actually work with the rodents to actually breed because Norwegian rats, they have problems with temperatures over 80 degrees or over 82.
Yep.
And when you basically hit a regular day is around 98 or 99 degrees or basically close to the hundreds, our summer months are very, very brutal. And that's when we collectively on the island, we see a shortage. Everyone basically is trying to scramble just to see who has anything that could supply. And then going back to the point that those are also the months that all our hatchings are hatching out.
Right.
So we're trying to
It's your
compensate.
highest need for baby production, highest need for food production. Right.
Yeah, and that basically it's a toss up because we have to make sure that we have enough to feed for our feeder for our hatchlings, and we have to gear up basically the females that we have for the season that's just about to start. So if we're missing meals on the females on the first 6 months before breeding season starts, that might be a female that might not go that season. So it's an issue when you have a larger collection. When you have a smaller one, that's not that much of an issue. But when you have a larger collection and basically you have to supply at least 100 to 120 rats or mice per week, that's when it gets a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a lot to deal with, man. You can't just call somebody in Texas or Florida to come and pick up your slack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard to basically because there are other local breeders of rodents and snakes here on the island, and they have to breed for themselves. So it's hard basically to stretch out. Now, the simple solution to basically that is take advantage of when the females are close to ovulation and they start skipping foods. Then we start at least I try to start freezing most of my rodents. So then basically I'll just use frozen thawed for when I'm really, really down to that last moment that I have nothing else to offer. And my snakes will not eat chicken strips.
I like that. All right. Savage says, would there be a call for rodent feed with cooler grains for the island, say corn free, soy free? It would be more expensive, but drastically change the body temperature of the rodents. She actually is engineering her own rodent food. So, and she's in South Florida. So that might be a possibility. You guys can confer aside from here to discuss your needs and maybe see if there would be a difference. I mean, that's a metabolism difference. And who knows if it'd make a difference. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the other thing that I wish we could get a hold of, but unfortunately it's not legal to actually have here would be African softbirds. Now, even though they're laboratory mice in or considered laboratory mice, they
Mhm.
do a lot more better in warmer climates than Norwegian rats. So
Right.
that can
Makes a
actually
lot of
help out,
sense.
but basically it's not allowed here, and obviously for obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah.
One gets loose, and basically they could repopulate very, very easily here.
I'm surprised that you guys have Norwegian rats and stuff available there to be used as food, but other than the fact that they're already loose as a native feral animal, right?
Yeah,
And
just like
and
mongooses. Basically, they've
unlike
been here.
unlike Hawaii, which would say it's invasive regardless, you can't profit from it, you can't use it. you're actually enabled, you're able to do it and and still raise the species that you need to do the job there. So yeah, so we were talking pre-show, and you asked me if I had a Katrina experience, and I did. Several people that are here know more about that story from me from personal interactions, but I was hatching eggs at an ambient temperature of whatever the room was on the second floor of my facility at that time flawlessly. Tell me about your situation there, having been 2 weeks without power now since the hurricane passed. Limey, earlier when you came in, just shout out to Limey. Hope everybody's doing okay with the storm. Limey, our guest tonight's actually doing this broadcast with no power from his cell phone. So thank Ron very much for being as hardcore as he is of a Puerto Rican to be here with us. So yeah, let's go back to where we were with that. So what are your temperatures like now with no power at 2 weeks?
Well, I can actually go by off my my incubator because I still have like 8 clutches in the incubator, and because I have no electricity, the thermostat is not running on the incubator, so I have to actually run with ambient temperature. And I'm basically more worried when it rains. When it rains, that's when the temperature really, really drops. But the lowest it has dropped is 84 degrees, but it maintains itself within 88 to 90 degrees.
Now let me ask you:
So
do you have what are you incubating in?
I build my own incubator. As a matter of fact, going off of YouTube. As a matter of fact, I got a video off of Dave Kaufman's of setup of how to actually convert a soda refrigerator into an incubator.
Okay. So if you have room in that soda fridge, have you ever thought about placing a lot of water bottles and stuff in there completely sealed?
I do, as a matter of fact. And the reason that I guess that I've been doing it is because I've seen so many other people stateside with their videos actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that I got to the point to understand that all that water bottle does is that works like a radiator. So whatever is open or closed, it helps basically radiate the temperature and keep it to what it was before I opened up the door. So whatever the ambient temperature is going to be, regardless if the bottles are there or not, that's the temperature. That's the temperature it's going to maintain itself.
Right.
So
I just didn't know if I didn't know if the 90-degree warm days were enough to bring the temperature of the bottles up so that when the temperature dropped from the rains, that it took longer for the temperature to drop. Because ultimately that's what you want it for, is for thermal mass. And that's what I've done here. Of course, I built a walk-in room incubator because I had no choice. I wanted a smaller incubator room, but I was stuck with structural, constraints where I had to make it a certain size. So I ended up with the room that was way too big for what I really needed. So I ended up using a lot of buckets of water and stuff around the bottom of it. And it did seem to work pretty well when it came into big fluctuations like that. That's all I mentioned. That's why I mentioned it.
yeah, I gotta say that basically, before this hurricane, I've also actually had the unfortunate event to go through Hurricane Maria. Now, Hurricane Maria was a hurricane. This one, I have to say, even though we're without power, it's nothing compared to what Maria actually did to us. And when I went through that time, I
Ian
also
passed
had
as a
eggs in
tropical
incubator.
storm. I'm sorry. Ian passed as a tropical storm.
No, Ian. Well, Ian was the Florida one. It wasn't here. The
Oh,
one that we had was
what did
Fiona.
you just get hit with? Fiona. That's
Fiona.
I'm
Fiona.
sorry. I'm sorry. I got
Fiona
Ian on the
started.
brain.
Fiona started on the east side of the island as a tropical storm, and when it reached the west side where I'm at, it converted into Hurricane Category 1.
Okay.
And when it passed us to the Dominican Republic, it went to Category 2. So we basically, where I am, I got hit with the 1, and where my collection is on the east side, it got hit with the beginning of actually starting up to 1. But like I said, even though it was powerful, it does not compare to what Maria actually did, because that was a Cat 5. And when I went through that one, my incubator, same thing, no electricity, and I didn't have as many clutches as I have now. Back then, I had like 4 clutches, and I had the experience of actually just letting time and the ambient temperature work out the incubation period alone. And I saw that that worked. And because I saw that one work,
Yeah.
this one doesn't actually worry me that much. And I have even more clutches in the incubator. So I just have to basically, going off of what I went through the last time, I just have to leave it a lot more longer in the incubator and not relying on the typical 50 or 55 days or 60. I have to let it go a little bit more than that.
Right. And anytime you down that temperature closer and closer to 84, 85 degrees, you're going to have to deal with that extra long period of time, that they're going to cook. So did you guys have any damages, physical damages or anything like that? Or are you
Um,
just without
besides
power?
besides basically without power, we were without power, without water for about I'd say like the first 4 days. Now, each part of the island is totally different. I was fortunate, like I said, that the damage wasn't that bad. There was a lot of places that flooding actually destroyed houses and done a lot more. And my heart actually goes out to people that went through that. And just to make a comparison, Hurricane Ian, for example, in Florida, if you look at Fort Lauderdale, not Fort Lauderdale, I think it's on the west side, below by Sarasota, they got they got pounded, and you see the videos and you
Yeah.
see all the damages. But if you go a little bit more central, it wasn't really that bad. So it's where you at when the storm hit, and I gotta say, even having my collections on the east side and I was on the west when it happened, um, I really didn't get that badly affected like I saw other people say.
All right. Well, we're all kind of like hurricane storm troopers together. Not like you guys though. You guys see that stuff left and right. I mean, like it happens there, like it happens constantly. I mean, it doesn't come here without coming across you guys first or around you guys first. I gotta know. You grew up in New York, and you said your mom would send you to Puerto Rico every now and then. Why did you choose an adult life in Puerto Rico over the United States?
Um, it's
That's just a
funny
personal
because
curiosity thing for me. Just because if I ever had a chance to stay away from hurricanes, I probably wouldn't move back towards them. That's all I mean.
you
That's
know,
just
you
it.
know, it's funny because basically, when you think about it, when there is like a natural event that's going to happen, be it a hurricane, be it a snowstorm, be it a tornado, it doesn't matter where you're at, you might get affected. I remember last year, was it 2 years, as a matter of fact, that freeze that Texas went through. They say that they haven't seen that in so many years that it totally caught them off guard. And I have to say the same thing with Hurricane Maria. We never expected something like that, and it's hard to prepare yourself. Now, the reason why I'm still here in Puerto Rico versus actually living stateside is when I was working. As soon as I got out of high school, I automatically landed a job within the airport, and I started working for a major airline, and it was based here in Puerto Rico. And for the past 25 years, this was my hub station. And I guess the pay was just good enough to maintain me here in Puerto Rico, and I never went stateside. I really wish I did
And
have the chance.
who really wants to not live on an island, bro? I'm sorry. I mean, you're closer to the Caribbean. I mean, I know that there's not the amenities and things like that, but in the grand scheme of that, I don't know. It's still a
Yeah,
beautiful place.
it's a toss up. I kind of feel that you have to make the best of wherever you're positioned in this world. Be it Russia, be it Germany, be
The
it
Ukraine.
Philadelphia. Yeah, be it anywhere. I mean, like it's where you're at. You just basically try to persevere.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, and you found a way to make your hobby work for you and everything, which I find to be great. So, who were, I mean, other than Kenny and stuff like that, who were the earlier people in your reptile thing that really made you want to do what you're doing right now?
Believe it or not, it wasn't really locally anyone that inspired me to actually do this. And I'd have to say it's the animals itself. That's what actually was real more inspiring, because it's kind of hard to actually want to follow someone else's path because that's their path. And I've seen this with the years that I actually been, within this hobby. A lot of people, they build their own passions off of someone else's passion. And if they keep following that other person and that person has a change of heart, basically they could go through a situation, be a divorce, be it they have to move or whatever, they basically jump out of whatever they were working with. And they find out that that wasn't necessarily their passion. So you have that one person that was following them that doesn't know what to do because basically the person they were admiring stopped doing what they loved. And it wasn't what that person loved. So as I was evolving myself within the hobby, I kind of actually fell in love with what I was producing and what I was seeing other people producing. And that was my passion. That actually, I started feeding off of that. And it was strong enough to actually overcome a lot of different situations that normally other people's would actually just jump ship.
All right. Well, that's a good answer. That's a really good answer. I like that answer. I like it a lot. It didn't have anything to do with any particular person, more or less the animals. So what, was it an internet thing? You obviously said you were on Kingsnake, but Kingsnake wasn't always the most conducive to pictures and learning and fun, things. Like it had a shitty forum that was run very, very angrily with a very narrow set of rules that a lot of our good shit that we posted back then got deleted and stuff. I mean, when Jeff started Kingsnake in 97, I was 17. I was an employee at a pet shop. I actually got a message over and I said, hey, yeah, you thought about putting a chat room? He said, we were adding a chat room. I said, I would like to be in that chat room. So he said, kid, there you go. Here's a chat room. Sent me a link to it in email. And I just ended up moderating that chat room for a couple of years and meeting some really amazing motherfuckers early on, like before 1999, before Y2K could turn over, right? I had already met some of the brilliant motherfuckers that worked at zoos all over the world that found kingsnake.com in this little chat room. So you said 2012, but it was kind of just Kingsnake and what else was there, right?
There were basically all there was Kingsnake and YouTube. And if anything, YouTube was like the door that actually opened the world of what the hobby entailed. When I'm seeing basically so many other people, and I gotta be honest, and this isn't actually trying to kiss up with anyone, but basically I'd have to say, besides watching videos of other snakes and see what actually comes across from a fire and a pastel, because in those days that's what it was all about, basically breeding codoms and see what else you could add onto it. But it was also seeing the interaction within, a small circle continue to grow and continue to grow. I'm an old school listener from your podcast. I'm an old school listener from Chris Eaton's podcast. And that was something that basically I would enjoy while I was actually working with my own snake.
I wish the older stuff was still around, like that you could hear it. I wish you could hear Reptile Radio and Herp Herp Hooray and all of these podcasts that went away after someone did so much fucking hard work doing them. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of, I think, why I'm sure YouTube will probably go through and wipe the slate clean here after a while, like 10, 20 years from now, they're going to go through and they're going to wipe out a lot of these videos. I mean, but it's going to be up to the people then that are around then to really step in and like try to revive us, right, Ron? Like to bring us back to, some, I don't know, degree of hearing what we had to say, because reinventing this wheel doesn't sound fun. We're embarking on virgin territory in this industry every day because it's such a fresh industry, right? Like it's so new that you're one of the two people in Puerto Rico that I know of ball pythons. Like it's so new that there are not like hobbyists everywhere that, what do you see What have you noticed has been, there's a question for you. What have you noticed has been your biggest change that you've seen since 2012 and I back in the way? You know, like what in that way have you seen since 2012? Do you really like, man, I really missed this, or I really wish that, or is there anything, or have you just evolved with this thing and it's all great with the chest bumping and the Morph Market and the US ARC and the, go bro go
You know,
thing?
I gotta be honest with you. I really wish there was a little bit more user-friendly content for more geared towards someone that's starting out. Now I've seen that basically there has been an evolution within the hobby that now it's a lot more technical. Before it was kind of more user-friendly, geared towards someone that's starting out, and that's what got me in. That's actually what helped me make the transition. And usually when I go through my contents and I upload videos on my channel, I try not to actually go a little bit too technical, because I understand that we always have a refreshing new audience or hobbyists that are starting in. And what I have to say, for example, all those old episodes, going back to you, going back to Chris Eaton, going back to Ralph Davis, when Ralph Davis was basically uploading videos. These were, I have to say, foundations that actually helped me grow, to build and start up my passion, and help me actually, I'd have to say, just educate or even help out the newer people that are coming in, regardless if that's not available for them anymore. Because you're always going to need at least someone that's going to help continue the circle or the wheel moving, because the wheel
Yeah.
has to move. The wheel has to move. It's not going to stop, and we can't basically reminisce and wish everything remains as it was before.
Oh, you
And it
definitely
actually
can't
goes
stay
back
the
with new
same.
people starting in.
Yeah, it has to evolve. It has to change. It has to, it has to revolutionize and whatnot. But Marshall has a good point. Marshall Van Thor, the guest from last Friday or a couple Fridays. I don't even remember. I lost track of Fridays at this point, bro. I've done 2 podcasts a week every week for a month. I'm blown away that I even did that. So here we are. But he said, I miss the forums where people with real knowledge would share without fear of new people slamming them. And I wholeheartedly agree. And Gilly agrees too, even though you can't really have I remember the old fauna at King Snake. Whatever, emails and money order. Yeah, I remember a lot of that stuff too. But see, if we go back to those forums, like King Snake was what you wanted it to be. King Snake was not what you really wanted it to be. King Snake was being meticulously moderated, right? Meticulously plucked for just the slightest bit of verbiage of aggression or anything. Like if it wasn't just a completely written out, thought out, no emotion involved in it at all, nothing involved. Like, do you follow what I mean? It would get deleted. You would get an email from PH Faust that said your fucking message just got deleted. And that was our friend Cindy that we all love, right? Yeah, it was over moderated. It was Cindy. You do know that, right, Limey? It was fucking Cindy. And we all love Cindy and everything now, because, she's stuck with everybody for all these years. And we know she's really a cool motherfucker and that she was just doing the bidding of Daddy Jeff. But it took a while for and look, Genomic brought up the Morph Market forums and stuff, is spearheading the modern community space for that. And you know what? I have no idea what that's about, because I don't even think about Morph Market that way. Like, I don't think about Morph Market that way. Maybe I should. Maybe I should get on over to the Morph Market community page and, make a big stink. Have you checked out the Morph Market community pages at all, Ron?
I dabbled with it a few times, and I have a few postings in the community. And it is a tool. As a matter of fact, I even believe that Morph Market even issues you badges. If you basically expand their
Oh my
website,
God. Then
going into actually using the forums.
I'm going to be a whore. I'm already a badge whore on Morph Market as it is. I've been on since the first day, right? We're fucking badge whores. We're badge whores. Oh man, I disagree. Looked at it and it's really basic questions in post. And you're probably right. It's probably basic questions in post. But Limey, where are they going to post their basic questions and shit? They're going to go on Facebook in a group and post it and be like laughed out by either 15 people that think it should be one way or 25 people that think it should be the other. I mean, it's like a fucking Squid Games tug of war game going into one of them fucking forums. It's ridiculous.
And
I would never do that if I was a novice.
And it's kind of sad, basically, because that is the downside of what the hobby has evolved to. When basically, there are forums. When you have those forums and basically you want to put something out there or share your experience, and then basically you're gonna get chastised. I've seen actually, with the time that I've been breeding, there is no standard rules of basically to breed or work with these ball pythons. There is no general rule.
No.
It's not that complicated. But
Right.
I don't focus that much on that. I don't focus on educating anyone because I don't want to get into that war with anyone, because there's always going to be someone that's going to disagree with that. So I'll just put it simple. I'll just, show what I produce, compliment what I see someone else produce, and just basically focus on that, trying not to hurt too many feelings about the way that I go around things.
Yeah, but you have a really cool demeanor, dude. Like, first of all, you got the cool Spanish accent and stuff. That's sexy in itself, right? Like, that's going to win people over in itself, okay?
I never talk like that with an accent like that. I try to talk with an accent, but I end up sounding like Russian. So, and I think that's what it says when I talk to Peter.
A little Russian.
Yeah.
You sound more Russian than I would sound if I was trying to be Spanish. I'm just saying. But I'm not going to even go there.
But the funny thing is that I actually learned Spanish living here. When I came to Puerto Rico for the first time, I did not know Spanish. I was those typical Puerto Ricans in New York that did not know Spanish.
Oh, okay.
So basically making that transition, But anyway, that's another story for another time.
We got plenty of time. Mike Narita says Morph Market is a great place for the basic questions, especially with the number of people getting their first or second snake off of there. I agree. Again, dude, I am in the drudges of selling corn snakes to these people at the bottom of the barrel. I got normals on there, for fuck's sake, for $50. And I am absolutely head over heels dealing with these people buying their first snake. And when they're like, you've never ordered a snake on the internet before, I'm like, you don't know how good a hand you're in. You're with me. We're good. We're great. Actually, I had a guy message me early this week. He said, hey, man, I was wondering, can you ship to me? My temperature is in the low 30s. And I'm like, dude, are you calling me from like 3 months from now? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy like asking me? And I didn't run his number, and he was in fucking Alaska, and I'm just like, yeah, we can get him there. Absolutely, we can get him there. Said, find a mentor, get yourself an old school friend. Limey, we don't grow on trees, bro. We don't all have podcasts. In fact, some of us have podcasts that invite other ones of us, like this motherfucker right here, that like this Limey Schmidger motherfucker right here that I've invited on this podcast. And no, I'm not going to be on that podcast. Find a mentor and get yourself an old school friend. There's just not enough of you available, Limey, to go around. I keep trying. And you keep yanking us out. Sean grows on trees for you because you have his number privately. Sean grows on trees for the rest of the world twice a fucking week, bro. Tuesdays and Fridays lately. Enough. I want to know more about what this person asked way back here. Where did they ask? Why did he choose ball pythons over another species? I'm sure my off-topic Tuesday friends would like to know about this.
Well, we don't have that many options.
You just said earlier that you could ship anything and shipping was easy from America to Puerto Rico, and you've done business on king snake. And yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is the thing, though. This is the major thing. Going back to what I was talking about, for example, the African sulfurs. We have fish and wildlife fish and wildlife down here.
Yeah, sure.
And they actually inspect everything that comes in and everything that goes out. So we have to make sure that we have a veterinarian certificate stating the specific species that is arriving or shipping out. If you actually get caught shipping something that is not illegal, that is illegal, as a matter of fact, forget about the fine. They will basically toss you in jail for that. Now, I am not going to go to jail for basically a Madagascar chameleon or basically a retic. I'm not going to, risk it. There's more than enough to do with ball pythons. I mean, like it's impossible to catch up with
But
the
there's
with
got to be a
the
lot of other species other than just ball pythons on that
there
list,
are.
right? I
There
mean,
are, as
yeah,
a
there
matter
are
of fact,
many.
there are other people that work with it. But
Right.
just to give you an idea, I've known three different people that because they wanted to explore a little bit beyond ball pythons because it's an animal. They want to work with a different type of snake. They've had their houses raided at 4 in the morning, like if they were basically smuggling cocaine. They'll break down their doors. They'll basically call social services if they got kids, and they will drag you on the streets and post you in the news the next day. You
Right.
lose your job.
Oh,
Basically,
yeah.
you have to hire a lawyer. Why go through all that issue?
Yeah. You don't want to be persecuted for it.
So
Yeah.
basically, until it does become to a point that certain animals are allowed, I'm more than content basically working with ball python.
There he goes with another good answer. This motherfucker's got answers. You guys got questions. He's got answers. Who else we got? Yeah, look, native turtles on Craigslist. Well, dude, that's turtles, bro. Turtles have their own cop with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, motherfuckers. You don't know that there's actually turtle task force people that just work on turtles, just fucking turtles. Oh, dude, that's why tortoises are fine. Just fuck with tortoises. Turtles, fuck that. Bad idea. You absolutely that's it. So, yeah, that there's so many people out like, okay, Blackheart, he's up in Canada. A good mentor is hard to find, but a good friend and mentor, you can make all the difference. I totally agree. And he's done that with a couple people. I believe Foster Bailey's one of those people up in Canada that this guy, Michael Graham, has then taken under his wing and helped along. So why do you talk to this fucker in Russia so much? Does he need that much help? Does he need that much hand holding? Is
You
that what
know,
you do, Pete? That's what that's the only way you produce Russian ball pythons is with this beautiful Puerto Rican guy's help? I think so. I think it's true.
it's funny going back to the mentorship. Um, I wholeheartedly believe that having a good mentorship could actually steer you to the right direction as far as where you want to take whatever projects you want to work with. But
Now,
by experience, I found that the further that you get that mentor than where you're locally at, the better it is for you because that mentor would not feel that basically you rub it against his territory or his projects or his ideas. And you get more of an honest opinion and a more of a helpful basically vibe from someone. And I got mentorship in Canada. I have mentorship in Germany. I have mentorship in California. I maintain those connections, and we basically came up with the point that it actually works a lot more better because we will never compete or basically jeopardize whatever project you have. Because let me tell you something, the teacher can teach only so much, but eventually the students will surpass the teacher. And there's always that fear. So there always will be something that will be held back or not shown. For example, the famous three-finger death touch. You know, they're not going
right.
to show you that. They'll show someone else 3 towns down, but they won't show you something locally.
Well, you
So
mentioned
I,
Tim in the pre-show. I mean, I would probably be the one that I mentored the most of all the years that I did. And like Kevin Fink was the one he mentored the most of all the years. And Kevin Fink's turned out to be a pretty solid rightful superstar, and Tim is a mile away from me that way. And there is no way in the world that the business side of things necessarily came between our friendship. Other things came between our friendship, but obviously something came between. But I don't necessarily think I ever really minded anything so much in the mentor being the local mentor, because I think at this point I've probably mentored quite a few people. But um, but I've done that very willingly and very openly in the way of I don't think there's anything that you can learn from me that would make me any weaker under you than the strength of us two together is how I've always kind of looked at it. Cause like for all the years that Tim that I was Tim's mentor. Tim was my neighbor at a reptile show, right? And Tim was my neighbor that had the things that I didn't have. So we weren't sending people across the room to a Texan or to a Floridian to sell them to a ball python. We were sending them to each other, right? And then the strengths were more or less, hey, dude, if you do these things, I'll do those things, and we'll do better for that. I do think that there's enough room in this hobby and enough outlet for our goods that you can go with a mentor-mentee relationship next door to each other, provided you understand that natural, local vibe is not, I guess it's not always respected, not always respectable. I'm not really sure how to say it, but you know what I mean. You know, there's something having to be said for the fact that you didn't learn how to sex a ball python like Tim Bailey did. Tim Bailey learned how to sex a ball python by coming to my facility 3 miles down the street from his house and sexing 500 ball pythons in one night. Like, that's how he learned how to sex a snake. And them motherfuckers probably never missexed a snake since that night. Because honestly, I mean, like I did, but see, I didn't have that luxury. I had to go out to, like, Brian Barchak was my main mentor, was way up in, you know, the Midwest, Detroit, which is good, solid fucking
Michigan,
probably
I think it is
60. Yeah, it's Michigan, but it's probably, I would say 16, 18 hours from me by car. And I've never been to his facility ever. But then again, I never went to people's facilities. I just didn't travel to people's facilities. I always said it would make me jealous and make me hate my own. And I'd get there and be like, God damn it.
You know,
look
yeah,
at this
isn't that so hard, basically trying to maintain your composure when you're seeing someone else's collection? And then
Right.
basically
Yeah, because everything
find
they have is a gem and everything you have is shit. It's
exactly
that George Carlin. Yeah, it's that George Carlin thing. Their stuff is shit.
Yeah.
And my shit is stuff. But no, when I went to their house, their shit was nicer than my shit. So it turned out that they had the stuff and I had the shit, you know? And you were like, God, but you're so used. But the thing is, you're so used to looking at your own brand, bro. I mean, it's not like smelling your farts or anything like that, right?
It's like
your
that
own
story
brand.
about the grass being always greener on the other side. It's
Right.
basically the same thing. The
Yeah,
way
he's
that I
selling
try
you
to
the same
compensate that,
thing.
yeah, the way I try to compensate that, because it's hard not seeing a video from Justin and seeing like the next level of the Pompeii 3.0. Forget about 2.0. It's you know, surpassed that, and not feeling a little bit envy, like looking back at my collection, I was like, damn, but
Yeah,
it's hard to
Limey said,
compare.
I felt that with Pete Call. Dude, if you ever went to Pete's facility or John P. Rose, yeah, I mean, there's a fellow New Yorker living in a burrow with fucking high-end ball pythons. How he ever had the money living in New York to be able to buy those snakes, I'll never know. But yeah, going to these guys' facilities back in the day and seeing that shit, oh my God. You know, and Creme de la Clutch said, I'm taking a shot for every time Ron says basically. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Welcome to
I didn't do.
Yeah,
didn't mean to hit that button.
it's unless I
Wrong
have
button.
someone catch me out saying that, I will basically keep repeating it.
Yeah, there you go. And hold back, Rock Podcast in the house. Hey, ladies or lady, one of you's here, and that's all that matters. Yeah, Marshall went to Pete and Brian's, and you still bought a ball python? What are you, fucking crazy? You might as well have gone to Nerds. Did you go to Nerds? You never went to Nerds? What the fuck? And how did you go to Pete's and not to Ralph's, other than the fact that Ralph probably didn't like you? You know, you probably could. He saw you talk to me once, and that was it. You know,
I kind of feel that when you're at that point that you're seeing someone else's collection and you're starting to feel a little bit envy, always knowing that there's someone behind you envying yours. So
yeah,
that
for
actually,
sure.
yeah, that'll take you down a little bit, and then basically, again, take another shot.
Yeah, right. That's what Raven said. Alcohol poisoning setting in. Yeah, crap.
Yeah, I feel that if anything,
Oh.
that'll take you down a little bit to the point that it's you know, your time is gonna come eventually with whatever project that you feel. I mean, like, there's more than enough for everyone to work with.
Right. Right. For sure. There's more than enough for everybody to work with. There's more than enough reptile species for all of you to partake in, even you, given that you're on a limited list of what's on the no-fly list, in other words. But Are there other species you'd really love to play with, though? I mean, is there
You know,
anything that you're like,
you
"Ooh, I
know,
would really if I
I,
could"? I mean,
if I
I'm just
could, as a matter
wondering.
of fact, I have the the one that actually turns upside down and fakes that it's dead when it's
Hognose, hognose,
hognose. I
hognose,
would
Western
love
hognose.
to actually
Which,
mess
by the
around with
way,
hognose.
for all of you that went to Arlington that didn't sell very many ball pythons, my dude sold the fuck out of hognose. He sold the absolute fuck out of hognose. I cannot believe. Yes, they can get corn snakes down there because I
No,
shipped a ton. Yeah, you can get corn snakes there.
no, it's
No,
not. It's not on the list. There's only two snakes that are allowed.
really?
One is ball pythons,
I
and the
thought
other
corn
one are
snakes were
garter
allowed.
snakes. And it's the
Really,
native
garters and
garter snakes. It's
balls.
not the.
Right.
It's
It's
not the
not
other ones,
even
the red ones.
North American garter snakes, not
Yeah,
red
it's
sided
only
garter
two, which
snake.
is garter snakes and ball python. That's
Right.
it.
Oh, wow. That's it. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, hey, Raven, I will be your mentor friend as long as you realize that I am also in Louisiana, but I am not in the lousy part of Louisiana that you are sadly in, and that I'll never do a reptile show there, no matter how big you make it sound. I will not come there for a reptile show. That's it, period. Otherwise, I'm right here to mentor you every Tuesday and Saturday with the rest of these Friday, and with the rest of these genius fucking guests that I've had on lately. Have you caught any other shows, Ron? You been
Oh,
watching?
definitely. As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, I actually been
dude.
watching them all.
The off-topic Tuesdays have been really, really killing it. It's been making me feel weird about this ball python show. That's why I'm glad you're here to save me for this Friday. You know, I have no idea who to have on this show next Friday, Ron. I have no clue at all. So I'm open for suggestions to anybody that wants to do a Tinley Friday episode, because I need a Tinley Friday night guest, which is going to be extremely hard to find. And I would like it to be somewhat entertaining, because the following week, you know who I have on this fucker? The following week is, what date is that? The what? If it's the 7th, it's the 14th. The Ozman, Ozzy himself, coming on this podcast for however many hours we can run. Ozzy's coming on. And then the following week, Bob Vu's coming on to chase Ozzy. And then I don't know what poor fucker gets the Friday after that. It's probably going to be like nobody. They're going to have to find like somebody just started keeping ball pythons like 2 days ago and already bought like 5 clowns and thinks they're going to be rich. Somebody that's got just delusions of grandeur. So yeah, I'm excited about what the future holds. Yeah, I have no idea who the Aussie chick is. I'm with that. I have no idea who the Aussie chick is either. Wait until you see the absolute sexy photo he sent me. It looks horrible. He sent me the most horrible picture. He's got to send me another picture. But yeah, definitely, that's it. What, you're leaving? What, Strange? You're leaving the podcast? You're not entertaining, so I'm out. He's all crybaby. I don't know what's up with you. But yeah, man, Ozzy and then Vu and then, I don't know, Strange after that. Was that a key in for Strange to come on the show? I don't know. You got any suggestions for next Friday, bro? Before we get into this next spell that I want to ask you?
You know what? If you were to ask me, I'd say probably hit someone up on the East Coast. If I could give a shout out to my man Sal Gomez.
Yeah.
That guy's like a beast.
Give a shout out to Sal Gomez, because he was also on the list of people to do. Oh, we might be able to do it. That was the other person to Sal Gomez, was the whole Back Rock podcast that I asked to be on the show the other day. I would love for somebody that's not going to Tinley Park to share in the embarrassment of not going to Tinley Park with me. That would be nice for it to be someone. So yeah, this was the next question that came up. I heard Ron had a relationship with J-Lo. So this is something that, like, this dude in Russia has done pounded and pounded. Like, you gotta ask what J-Lo thing. You gotta ask what the J-Lo thing. So please tell me what the J-Lo thing is, because I wasn't about to ask you privately.
Dude, it's so funny because as a matter of fact, on your podcast, Peter came up with that comment about the J-Lo thing. And I was driving, as a matter of fact, so I didn't have a chance to respond at that moment when he put it in there. And I figured, you know what, it's just going to blow over. No one's going to pay too much attention to it. The following day, Earl Jones calls me. And he was like, Ron, what's up with you and J-Lo? And I was like, excuse me? It was like, yeah, I got like 4 different phone calls asking me, what is it with you and J-Lo? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh God, well, let me break it down this way. I did a live video one time with Shane Kelly, and 2 other guys, Richard Barclow and Rob from Royal Balls. Basically, one's in Europe, one's in Malaysia. Shane at that time was in Bakersfield, and obviously I was in Puerto Rico. And we're talking about different projects of ball pythons. And we were talking about what is our dream snake. Now, this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I believe. In that conversation, I was talking about the monsoon. Now, at that time, the monsoon was like crazy expensive, just as much as a date with J-Lo. But because J-Lo's been changing hands so many times, so frequently with partners, I made the comment that, you know what, I'm gonna eventually get the monsoon just as much as I'll probably get J-Lo on the next go around, because eventually she's gonna end up in someone else's hand. Why not mine? And I made that joke. So earlier this year, I actually picked up a double head monsoon clown, and Peter caught the post that I put on Instagram, and he remembered that comment that I made like 3 or 4 years ago, and he was like, "You got J-Lo." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, the monsoon. You got J-Lo." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, it eventually got to my hands. So yeah, I guess I did get J-Lo." So he kept with that running joke because of the project I was working at, and I referenced it basically, you know, to how J-Lo basically has more rings than Michael Jordan.
There you go. You got it. Ever since she was a dancer on In Living Color, she's done a good job learning how to sing.
It's either in the 50s or in the 90s, but eventually, you know, Jenny on the block's gonna pass by my block.
That's funny. Well, yeah, if she's on that block, then that might be yours.
Or if I'm lucky enough
to buy a ball python. She might knock on the door and just be there to buy a ball python, bro. You don't even know.
You know, the funny thing is,
it might be a thing like a board ape, NFT. Eventually,
you know, the funny thing is, the back and forth I had with Earl about this, when I hung up the phone, I went through it, and I actually did have a picture of me hugging J-Lo, but it was the wax museum doll from Madame Tussauds Museum, and I sent that to Earl, and I was like, wait a second, I did actually hook up with J-Lo. Then Earl sent me a picture that he was actually, you know, with the same picture with her in the wax museum also. So my bragging rights ended right there because he called me out.
Well, yeah. At least you know, that's something that's really funny about Earl, though. I mean, I'm surprised he's not here in this chat to share in the glory there of that story. Wait for you to blow it up, though, Peter. God, that guy. He's something else, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's special. He's special. That's why they invaded the Ukraine, so Putin had a place to put that motherfucker.
Every time I get a phone call from Peter, I always tell him, Peter, whatever you do, keep it strictly reptile related. I don't want to know what's going on over there. I don't want to, because I don't want to basically NSA or whatever crashing down my door and thinking basically I got espionage going on.
Yeah, espionage. I'm pretty sure they're not taking Peter seriously. So he's probably a suspect. He's probably number one suspect. You should probably look out for Peter. Peter's probably the number one bad guy because that's it.
Either that or he could get you a Russian bear. You know, one of those two.
Yeah, a Russian bear, huh? I don't know. I'm pretty sure the Russian bear would run. I'm pretty sure the Russian bear is afraid. So, where do we go from here, bro? What about caging in Puerto Rico? What do you do for caging and shit? What do you do for rack systems and things like that?
Basically, everyone around here just builds their own rackings, and what we're using is PVC enclosures, like, for example, tallgrass reptiles or C-SERPENTS. We basically get the same idea. Me personally, what I do is I'll order tubs. I'll order, like, for example, reptile basic tubs or or whichever tubs, and I would have them shipped here to Puerto Rico, and then I would have someone build me a rack for that size tubs that I'm using. Um, Eventually, because I reached out to ARS and I got a shipping quote to what it would be to actually have an ARS rack here, and that's what I eventually want to evolve into. Um, it's a point to basically finally settling down because I was just recently divorced about 2 years ago, so I'm not in my permanent residence that I would say that I would want to invest in a rack that I would have to take apart and move somewhere else. So eventually, so I'm at that point. That is my future next investment that I want to actually get to.
Are
I
you
already
doing
worked out the shipping cost.
I mean, obviously, the last 2 weeks you're doing ambient heat, but are you a heat tape using guy on your PVC racks, or you do them
I do.
ambiently?
I do, but I only use it for hatchlings that I receive stateside. And I give them time to acclimate with my local climate because I know, for example, wherever they're coming from stateside, they are set with that temperature with heat tapes and everything. So I want to get basically
Yeah, but
ease
you're
them
keeping
off.
your collection
Oh no, the
ambient.
ambient. Everything is on ambient.
Okay.
Nothing's on heat tape.
All right.
Only
Yeah.
whatever I bring in and I basically keep on a separate area for the quarantine time. And then after that, then slowly I basically make them a transition to the other room that I use for basically all my snakes. And
Right.
again, another shot.
Extremely resilient species, though. It can do a lot of things. Raven asked it. Well, I guess she said Louisiana doesn't require a license for ball pythons. No, Raven, it only required a license for any constrictor over 6 feet long, anything venomous, or anything native. So if it doesn't qualify under those 3 things, or if it qualifies under the other 2 things that you need the permit for, the permit is actually free. We had it processed back. I fought the law alongside a lot of my fellow reptile loving motherfucking Louisianians in like 2004, I think. I want to say one of my friends I went to high school with reminds me of it all the time because he was there that day. And he was like, I was there the day you told those motherfuckers that. I'm like, I did not tell those motherfuckers anything. I was very polite. I was very polite to that group of lawmakers when they said that we couldn't keep things. And I basically browbeat them down. It was bad, man. It was bad. But we passed a permit law in a non-fiscal quarter so that the state could not charge a fee. So it's a completely burden of the state. It's on their dollar that they inspect. It's on their dollar that they give you the permit and everything else. So it's pretty fucking cool. It's
It's kind of scary because there's always a time of year when you have someone that's anxious to sign a new bill, and it actually could affect us in one way or another. Going back to and I have to actually give a huge shout out with US Arc. The reason I want to give a shout out to US Arc has no say or pull here in Puerto Rico, but there was a time when we had some representatives that they were trying to put certain bans on reptiles. And Phil Goss, as a matter of fact, in coordinations with local people here, he actually read a letter and of recommendation, or basically he tried to intervene at one point or another to avoid any more, I would say, restrictive measures for reptile keeping, and it actually helped us out. So I feel that whatever law might pass at whatever state or whatever part of the world, it'll eventually affect everywhere else because it's just it's like a domino effect.
Yeah,
it'll eventually reach anywhere else.
I have absolutely no doubt at all, based on that it's a ripple effect and it's in, full effect. Like it was explained to me, Humane Society of the United States has 25,000 voters per congressional district in their pocket. So basically anything that they tell a politician to pass or to try to pass, that politician will try to pass if they want to be a reelected politician. That's why, like, the only ones that matter are like the lame ducks that are on your side, the old men and old that think it's non-constitutional or it's antitrust, that's how I did it in 2004. My argument with the state here was that I was a 25-year-old, 24-year-old businessman with a $500,000 a year company that was growing. And if they did what they were going to do that day, I was going to move out of the state. But you don't have that luxury. You don't have that luxury at all. So that brings me to an interesting question here. Quirky posted, I heard crime is bad in Puerto Rico. How do you protect your snakes from that? Is there a worry that that theft of valuable reptiles is actually a fenceable object or not? I mean, a lot of times here it doesn't seem to be that easy to steal it because people don't want to actually steal a job.
You know,
So, what do you think?
I got to be honest with you. You know, I'm from New York. You know, and
yeah. So it does crime compare?
Exactly. You know, I'm not that brazen to actually open my door to let anyone know what I have in my collection. You know, I could be in the humblest town possible, but if I publicly let everyone know the value of a single snake, forget about my collection. If I go that basic, then I'm inviting anyone in to actually, you know, find a way to take away my snake, you know, what I have, or even, you know, even kill it or whatever they think possible. So I try not to publicize locally what I have. Whatever I post on Instagram, it doesn't have my IP that directly basically pings to where I'm at. And anyone that does pick up a snake from me, they do not go past my doors. So I've heard stories from other people that actually had snakes lost or stolen from them, but it's because basically they've opened the door, you know.
Sure.
So I limit myself, and I don't have to brag the value of what I have just to make me feel better of the collection that I'm raising. If I do feel proud of whatever I have, I'll just post a picture, but I won't post a value on it.
Right.
So whatever anyone wants to steal, it could be a pair of Nike sneakers. It could be I don't know.
And again,
jewelry.
it needs to be a fenceable good, right? Like it needs to be a fenceable good. Like the few times that junkies ever stole snake collections here, they didn't get very far with them.
Yeah,
like
no one's gonna steal a snake and walk into a pawn shop and say, "How much can I get for this?" You know, that's not
true, my
happen.
friend. I ran the local reptile pawn shop because, well, I had a pet shop, a reptile shop when I was 20, from the year 2000 to the year 2010. And I ran Exotics by Nature as a retail store as well. And in the year 2000, maybe 6-8 months after I opened, I'd say, this guy called me on the phone and he said, "Man, you wouldn't believe it. My house got broke into and my ball python got stolen." And he's like, and I was like, "Okay, what kind of, this was in 2000. Like there was a normal. There wasn't even a question if it was a pastel, bro. A pastel male was over $1,000 at the time. Like there was no question it was a normal, right? So we know of we know of people going to jail for stealing snakes from Nerd. Yeah, maybe so. They also worked at Nerd and they swapped eggs out while they worked at Nerd, and that's just a really, really horrible thing that's happened many years ago. But if we go back to 2000, this guy calls my store and he says, "Man, look, I just want to be sure." He's like, "All my shit got stolen." And I was like, "So are you calling around the pawn shops and stuff?" And the guy's like, "No, dude, I'm calling you because my snake might show up there. I just want somebody to take care of it. If it shows up there, you have my permission to buy it back as long as it's not more than like $100 because I can't really give you more than that. I just really want my snake back." Right. And I felt bad for the guy. Right. I felt awful for the guy. So, I mean, I hang up and I'm like, "Hey, no fucking way." The guy I was like, "How am I going to know it's yours, dude? It's a ball python. Every one of them's like a fingerprint, though. You got a photograph." It's like, I can identify it from a photo. He said, "Look, man, if a guy comes in with a tank that's held together with, you remember them old web belts from the fucking 90s, the woven belts that you could put the belt through it anywhere, right? Like men would wear, right?" He said, "It's got one of those woven belts strapped around the tank to keep the fucking lid on. You can't miss it." 20 minutes after I hang up the phone, this junky motherfucker pulls up in my parking lot. and carries in a 10-gallon tank with a ball python in it, held shut with a fucking web woven belt.
Now let me ask you a question. Did
And the
that
kid
person live in
wanted,
a? Did
what's
that
that?
person live in? Let me ask you a question. Did that person live in a crime infested neighborhood?
Yeah, that person lived in
That's
the
my point.
country. Yeah,
That's
that
my
person
point.
lived in the country
It
where,
that
yeah, if you
that
knew he
again
wasn't
it
at
goes to my
home,
point.
yeah.
It could be anywhere and stuff
Well,
like that.
actually,
Someone
to
can
be
walk
honest
in.
with you, where this guy lived, if you broke into somebody's house in the middle of the day while somebody was home, you'd get shot. You'd get killed because it was the country. You broke into people's houses there because you knew they weren't home and they were probably 30 minutes away at work at the closest. And you know what's fucked up though? Is the guy wanted $300 for the snake. And I'm like, bro, it's only worth $50, but I've been authorized to give you up to $100 for it. And I made up some lie, right? And he said, oh, he didn't think I owned the place. So I was only 20. And he said, oh, no, I don't want to go $100. I'll go to another store. And he got in his car. He pulled out a parking lot. I took all of his license plate information down. Bro, I called the fucking cops in the county over where this dude lived. You know what they told me? Oh, we had a murder investigation go on here last night. We don't give a fuck about no stolen snakes. Thank you. And hung up the phone on me. So I was like, fuck it. There ain't nothing you can do. Buy lots of locks, buy security systems, buy big fucking dogs. And that's what we had. When we had a whole facility full of high-end snakes, I had 2 Dobermans and 2 Bull Terriers in there running amok. And nobody was breaking in there. And then all the windows had bars on them. So, you could maybe feed my dog treats, but we also lived upstairs. There was everything that I could do, bro. I had a security system. I had cameras. I had dogs. I had guns, and I lived there. And honestly, nobody ever tried to break into my shit yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. So I'm
Yeah,
right there with you. It's not Puerto Rico. It's not Cuba. It's not Florida. It's nothing. It's just people being shitty, and people are shitty everywhere.
I kind of feel, and I see a lot of posts from
Including
people
the shitty
stateside.
cop that told me he didn't care that day. That guy's shitty too, by the way. I just want to clear that up.
I kind of go back with the posts that I've seen a lot of times with people like they'll live in a specific zone that only allows certain amount of pets within a household, and they get that surprise call that, for example, the landlord, they're doing that routine check and they're trying to figure out where they could hide their snakes. Um, Same thing basically with anyone that has any type of collections. I kind of feel that, you know, when you're to that point that you want to show off or let other people know, you're inviting an opinion. And if not an opinion, you're inviting someone that might go off of the value that you might be saying that you might have, and you're opening yourself to that situation that you could get robbed, or basically a landlord can evict you because you have such amounts of animals when the county doesn't allow it. I feel that unfortunately, the hobby, if there's a time that you want to show off anything, go to an expo, meet up with other people,
Yeah, I'm with you.
interchange pictures,
I'm with
go
you.
to Instagram, post it up there.
Yeah, we have
Use
Mardi
that for
Gras
bragging.
here, bro. You know how often I'd been to Mardi Gras in my life that I've seen Burmese pythons on the fucking parade route? Many times. Many fucking times. Many times. Dude, we had a pet store, and across the street was a gas station. And one day I heard like all these horns blowing and all this shit going on. And I was like, what the fuck's going on at the gas station? And I look out the front door, and at the gas station across the street, there's a motherfucker out there with a 13-foot albino Burmese just showing it like he's at a burlesque show or something. And I'm like, hey, dude, are you planning on stripping with that snake? Then get it the fuck home. I'm like, and what the fuck do you mean get it the fuck home? I'm like, why don't I call my buddy at Animal Control to come tell you to get it the fuck home? Well, why would you want to do that? Well, why would you want to be at a gas station with this snake right now, dude? You are the reason laws are passed against us. And yeah, I'm saying us, bro. I got 150 snakes at home in a 3rd bedroom of my mom's house, but I'm not an asshole out here with any of them. No one, not even my neighbor, knows that I have them, I mean, and that's it. I operated this building right here. I think I mentioned in the podcast the other day, that was a mind-blowing phone call that I got from this local guy that wanted to get his first corn snake. I really got to get back with the guy because I hadn't heard back from him at all. But he wanted to get his first corn snake, and it turns out he lives literally 300 feet away. you know, and his wife is scared of snakes, bro. His wife doesn't want him to have a snake. And I was like, you know, explain to her when y'all were looking for your dream home and she said, this is it. This is the place. And y'all were building your fucking your retirement home as you were building the house you're going to die in. Dude, it was 300 feet away from a motherfucker with thousands of pythons. What the fuck? I mean, granted, I sold all those thousands of pythons 4 years ago, but they built their house 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was like, tell her while she slept in the brand new house, the thousands of pythons slept and left her alone right next door, you know? And so he was blown away. Which building's yours? And I was like, that one. And he was like, no fucking way. I'm going to tell her what you just told me. I'm going to tell her. He's like, I can't wait to tell her. I can't wait to tell her that she'd never had any idea the biggest snake breeder ever to hit Louisiana was right fucking there in that building we drive past every day. And that's it.
That's all it is.
You know,
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And what people don't know is their biggest fear, bro. What did my neighbors think down the street when they drove past the building a bunch of times? And one of them finally was like, I see you got these boxes. Is that what you keep snakes in? I was like, why don't you get your kids and come over? Why don't you stop acting weird and like driving slower when I have my front door open because I'm loading packages in the back of my car in my wheelchair and just come over? Like, get your kids, get their friends, and come over. Now, any of them fucks with my shit, I've got cameras out here, and I'm coming for you to pay for them. And I'm like, see those white lizards out there in that fence? Yeah, don't ever free them. Those albino iguana adults probably cost $5,000 a piece. Don't ever fucking free them. Don't ever try to go in those pens. If you want to go in there and fuck with them, come over. Ask me or my employee. We will let you in the building to go in there and fuck with them if you truly must fuck with them. But if not, you're welcome to look at them from the street or even, you know, don't walk on my property. Just get as close as you possibly can without walking on my property. But if you must, don't fuck with my stuff. They're expensive and it's how my kid and I live, right? And my neighbors were always cool. And after I brought them over, they were cool. And the one guy that wasn't cool, he had a heart attack a few years ago and he died. But his wife sold his house to somebody else who has no problem with any of us. You know, but having those people know where you are, bro, there's nothing that feels worse than that. There's nothing. You
don't want to be that radar. You don't want to be. You don't want to be that blip on someone's radar.
You don't.
You don't want to be that blip.
I don't mind wildlife and fisheries knowing that I'm here. I like it for them to be the only ones that know, though. You know, I mean, I'm glad my street neighbors, which granted, Ron, I'm on a 5-acre property and all my neighbors have at least 5 acres of land. So my one street probably has 7 people living on it, you know, and of the 7, they all have horses or farm equipment deadly enough to kill them all, you know, over snakes that I keep here, right? That, you know, and given that.
Yeah, the fertilizer alone.
Right. Right. I mean, that's it. I mean, they know we raise rodents here too. They knew all that. They've never seen rats running in their yard other than the wild rats that live here. But really, it's important to be that, guys. I think it's really important to be an ambassador to your trade, right, Ron? Like, that's ultimately what you are, is you're an ambassador to your trade. You know, everyone around you should know that you are the most shining example of any herper that ever lived. You know, you should be trying to educate them when they don't know, not like crush their dreams when they don't know. The shit we were talking about earlier with beginners and stuff. I mean, you came up in a time where I think things were a little fuzzy. Like, you didn't have a lot of anger and hatred in the marketplace, but you also didn't have a lot of organization and direction in the marketplace either. So the fact that you found yourself a backbone in kingsnake.com in 2012 is, you know, viable. You didn't really have another option back then. How do you feel about Morph Market now, though? Now that you're, you know, BBM, I'm going to blurt us out a little bit with the sponsor logo. Sorry, bro. I made this kind of a thing this week. I need to change that up a little bit next time. But your BBM Morph Market page, man, how have you done with Morph Market so far since 2018?
Well, I think I only really started posting animals up for sale for like 2 years. And
okay.
I'm just basically wetting the feet, you know, in that market.
Hmm.
I feel that basically, my God, I'm gonna say it again. I gotta catch myself and stop saying that. But
You
I
can say
feel that it's
basically
it's
all you
something.
want, bro. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I feel that it's something that I'm gonna have to transition to eventually because where I am at, and there's always that doubt if I can actually ship any animals out from where I am because everyone is so used to the 48s, so they don't see me as an option. But eventually, I have been able to move animals. I obviously buy most of my animals since King Steak's not a viable source anymore. I do buy a lot through Morph Market, and
Yeah.
eventually, whatever
I
moves,
mean, you have to
moves.
like the ease of Morph Market's use and cross-referencing what you're actually looking for
I
without
I
having to surf
actually,
through page after page after page of ads on Kingston,
yeah,
you know?
I take full advantage. As a matter of fact, the offsprings page and my future breeding projects, I actually just started uploading a lot of things there. Um, and I use that as a matter of fact to keep track. I don't know if you remember the old days. Some tracking tools, I believe, and I still have it as a matter of fact. Trying to remember the name of it.
So I used to use the guy, DEGEI, the guy. Um,
Hmm,
Damon,
there's
Damon
this one program, I
Thies,
can't remember the
David
name.
Thies. There's been a few collection trackers along the way. Um,
But now that Morph Market actually has that with the offspring groups, it
yeah,
actually helps me keep track besides having something in my old notebook. So
yeah.
I'm taking full advantages
Yeah,
of
and see
that.
that's brilliant because see we were doing the clutch record, then Tim Bailey started doing his clutch record, or Tim started doing one first and I started doing one after. One of us was doing it first and the other one after that one. I'm not sure. But we definitely did that clutch record thing and it made such a difference in our sales and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I mean, just people watching and waiting for that clutch to hatch. And when you post up that picture of all of them hatched out, you'll sell half of them just from that photo, or
Yeah,
at least back in the day you would, provided the clutch was strong enough. But yeah, if it's helping you keep better track of your production and everything, that's great. We still take pictures of all the females on eggs. In fact, I cut my puzzle. Well, I didn't cut it. Grace cut my puzzle clutch yesterday, and I didn't even check them today because by the time I got here, it was so close to time to go on with you. I was like, I don't even want to go in the incubator and see what the fuck's in there because then I might be disappointed that I missed and got a bunch of spot nose hets and shit. I don't know. She said they're all busy patterns, so I got lots of spot. It was a pastel spot nose puzzle male to a female fire enchi het puzzle. So I mean, hopefully there's a bunch of puzzles in there, but who knows? I probably won't know shit until they crawl out. It's been so
yeah. I
long
got
since I
I
looked at
got my
puzzles in
first
the egg.
clutch of. I'm actually making puzzle heads right now,
Killer.
and
Good to
hopefully
know.
I'm gonna be
Good to know.
a little bit more days extra to wait to see what comes out, but they're all going to be double or possible triple heads. But
Okay.
that's what I have in the incubator right now.
What
I
was the
got, as a matter of
pairing?
fact, it was a pastel chocolate Desert Ghost head hypo to a pastel puzzle.
Okay. So they'll
So
all
right
be
there,
het puzzle then.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a double head Desert Ghost puzzles, pos
Right.
head hypos, but
Right.
it's the whole clutch is a whole bag. So
Oh yeah.
um, it's basically, I believe wholeheartedly, working those 50% hits, especially
It's
when
the
you
way
make
to
them
go.
yourself, because
Absolutely.
like you said, it's the only way to go to get those other projects that you're
Yeah,
working
you
with.
can really make headway with that, with time invested, not money invested, especially if you're hatching, like you said, you're hatching them yourself. So, well, it's good to see you on Morph Market, man. Keep listing hard and keep telling people you can ship to them with no problem. I'm sure it's not cheap though. What's shipping like? Can you FedEx out of there or no? You
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. FedEx basically, as a matter of fact, this is a strange thing. I get a cheaper price shipping with Delta Dash than I get off of FedEx. FedEx usually costs
I
around
believe that.
92 to $110, and with Delta, no, FedEx is 92 to 110,
Mhm.
and Delta Dash is only $72.
Right. And that's killer, man, because Delta Dash is to you guys sometimes same day, depending,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
depending on if
And
you're morning
basically,
shipping or
once it's
not.
off the plane, it's right there in the hangar. So it's not going on the back of a truck, going to a hub. It's right there
Right.
at the airport.
Right. Yep. Indeed. Indeed. I mean, I don't miss Delta Cargo because I got to drive an hour and 20 minutes to the airport. But, I mean, we did it a lot for the fish store. I mean, with the fish store, it's almost, if you really want to do corals from Chicago, you got to drive to the airport once a week. But I mean, I was doing that for a time when we had help to do it. When Gabe lived here, I was doing it for a while, but
Well,
running a
but
Delta's a pain in the ass sometimes. But
besides,
man, to be able to get an entire box for that cost and basically have it to be a larger box, you could do more conscientious shipping faster. What does international shipping look like for you if I don't take you too much of a point off?
what do you mean international shipping?
Can you get CITES to ship out of there to other countries? Or is that like a nightmare?
I tried going that route, but unfortunately, I need a port of entry, and the closest
Okay.
port of entry would be Miami.
Yeah, that's it. They
So
don't have a port of
I would
entry
need someone. I would need someone
Okay.
actually work as a brokerage in Miami to receive it and then
Yeah,
make the
he went away.
transports and stuff like that. So I can't do
Sorry, he went
sightings.
away. Yeah, sorry, he went away. That was
Yeah,
Chun
but like I
Kuo's
said,
dynasty,
I'd have to
Chun would have been
maintain
great.
myself within the states.
Okay.
I've actually shipped to Mexico once. That's basically ship it over to Texas, and someone actually works
I'm
out the
still at a
information, ships
loss
it
for
from
where
there.
their marketplace is there, but fuck, man. I mean, where there's money in Mexico, there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of countries, right? I mean, I'm sure Russia's a lot like that. If Peter's still awake, he probably fell asleep. If Peter's still awake, Russia's a lot like that, right? The poor are poor and the rich are rich as fuck, and the middle class are kind of harder to find, you know. And sadly, with the ball python world, you kind of have to have every bit of the chopping block to really run with it, you know. So I've always wondered about Mexico and ball pythons. Oh, he's still here. Look, I mean, I prodded our boy. I'm like, wake up. I got, dude. He did like
I would
fucking.
I
He
would
did
love to get
lines
into the
for
Asian
this.
market. I would love to get into the Asian market, but that's
Yeah, the
another
Asian
side's issue.
market's good, but then it's not good at the same time because there's a lot of shady fly-by-nightish stuff, right? Like, I mean, look, when Chun was shipping the bulk of ball pythons into China, okay, China, you were shipping into Hong Kong and you were only allowed to ship 25 animals at a time. Okay. So I I find it hard to believe that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of ball pythons were going to China to get bought up by the people of the broke ass area around Hong Kong when it's illegal everywhere else where the money is. Yet all the 5-digit balls went there. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. It's a little funny. But hey, they got snakes in Russia, right? So, I mean, we never had the ability to do that business, ever had the ability to do that business. But yet I would manage to get, Russians messaging me and sending me money through some sort of channel to get animals brought to Ham, to get them ferried across. And that brings me to talk about this reptile brotherhood that I wanted to mention while I was on the show with you. Peter tells me that the people of Russia have gotten together and followed. And Limey, if Limey's still with us, this is definitely something for Limey to pay attention to, that he's learned from the brotherhood of the Western world to how to take care of your own. The person who was smuggling all of the high-end reptiles from Germany, from the Ham show, across Eastern Europe into Mother Russia for the wonderful Russian folk, was caught by his job at the train and fired from his job at the train. At which point, Ron knows this story, right? The people of Russia raised 4 months' salary for this man as a thank you for all of the illegalities that he had been a part of that had gotten him in trouble and lost his job. And that right there was some serious fucking brotherhood that I wanted to mention that they mentioned to me. I was tickled when I heard that, Ron. I mean, I don't like, I love how, like, you know, um, corrupt that is, but at its heart is so golden. I just wanted to share that with you. What do you thought? What do you thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised because I've actually seen within my time within the hobby, um, that camaraderie or that brotherhood, you would say, in so many different situations.
Yeah,
And I feel that that's
it
the
doesn't
biggest
happen in the
part of what the
aquarium
hobby.
world.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
feel
happen
that's
with
the
fish.
biggest what that's what the biggest benefit of
Yeah.
what the hobby has to offer. And we could go down the line of so many people that went through so many different situations in their lives,
Mhm.
and it was their fellow reptilian hobbyist companions that actually helped them actually get another foot back on to life, and to the point that helped them get comfortable enough to continue doing what they're doing. I've seen that so many times, and I talk about that profusely with so many people, and I tell them about the benefits of what a snake, a lizard, an iguana actually has, because the door that it opens with so many people. You never know. I mean, like God, God willing, or God hopes that you never have to go through a bad situation to put it to test. But I've seen a lot of people actually, go
Dude, I'm
well
living proof.
beyond.
I am living proof of that, bro. In the year you got started in this, would have been the year that I got hurt in 2012. Would have been the year that this motherfucker right here, Limey, stepped to bat for me in a way that very few people in this industry did, and raised enough money for me to pull this place out of the ruts, bro. Like, I would have lost this building that I'm in. I would not be here 10 years now later. I would not be here if it wasn't for everyone out there, for you guys, for backing me up. Like, it is unbelievable how much we've stood behind each other. And I don't know where that came from, dude. Like, where did it start? Like, who did it start with? I don't even remember. Limey, who did it start with? Because it started in our time. Like, it started with these auctions and with people being able to crowdfund. I mean, and I remember we raised a bunch of money for Rico Walder from Signal Herpticulture, who had brain cancer. He passed away. I wasn't the first one. I was not. He said I was the first one. That you were the first, that you did for me. But no, I wasn't the first one. The first major one. If I was the first major one, then fuck. Then Jesus Christ. I'm glad I paved my way for more people to benefit from each other and our love. But I mean, man, that was a thing. That was a thing. And whenever Peter told me about the guy, he obviously told other people too, he still told Granddaddy over here. I had this a minute ago. He told a few of us that story about raising money, raised 4 months' salary for the train conductor guy who got fired over smuggling reptiles. The funny thing is, he just got fired over it. He didn't go to prison and fucking here. He'd have to be spending $100,000 on his fucking, criminal defense and everything just to even remotely get out of that. But yeah, I think you're right. We do take care of each other in a different way. It's definitely better than any other pet industry portion that I've witnessed. And that's almost 30 years in the industry. So yeah, I hope it's never
You
you,
know,
bro, but I know that you're already loved enough that people would definitely come to bat for you and your family. And I
yeah,
think that means something.
I'm not, I really don't, I'm not going to go into details, but I did go through a very, very traumatic, personal situation.
Mm,
And, that's probably why I'm so close with Earl. Earl knows more details about this. And,
okay.
Earl basically, I met Earl Tinley standing in line for deviled eggs, deviled eggs in Tinley. And we just basically hit it off from there. Brian Gundy was right next to me. Brian, I love you also. He's another great guy.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just this Puerto Rican from a small island. I'm no one. I really am no one. But basically
Oh, you're someone.
that connection that I actually made when I went through a very, very traumatic situation, the community had my back, and I'm internally grateful for basically everyone that came out to bat and gave their piece of grain to actually try to build me up again. Even though I'm still a broken person, I consider myself eternally broken, but I had the support and the love of so many people, including Peter up in Russia. I mean, like, oh my goodness, I got an
Yeah, dude, how
overflow with so
small
many
is this
people.
fucking world, bro? How small is this fucking
Exactly, it
world?
makes you
How
realize how
tiny?
small
How
it is,
tiny?
and if you think about it, it all
Yeah,
boils down
fucking
to a
tiny.
snake. It all came
Yeah.
down to a snake. That's basically what united so many people, and they look beyond a lot of things. It's that common interest that you share with them, and that's the full benefit of what the hobby actually has to offer. And that's something I like to actually make sure that I pay it forward. I will give away a lot of snakes to a lot of people. I mean, like, I'm talking about high-end snakes only because I want them to have the experience of what the hobby has to offer. Forget about the negative comments that someone might post on Facebook or anything like that, just because they're trying to figure out if it should be a glass aquarium or if it should be the tub. Factor all that out. It's what they're eventually going to get out of everything that's more valuable.
Oh,
And
yes.
I mean, like, it's that much of a great hobby. It's really, really worth fighting everything you can because you want other people to benefit from it also.
Yeah. And Earl's got another lover here in the chat, right? Granddaddy Herbs says Earl's the first big breeder that showed interest in me and asked for my number just to call me and chat ball pythons. Look, I got my Earl story as well, and it's crazy. I had this terrible surgery a few years ago. Had to lay in bed for like 2.5 months, and I was in the hospital. I was really having a bad time. I'd had a really bleak night. Earl and Ren had piped up and sent me a message one night and asked me how it was going, and I guess I really unloaded on them in a way that I didn't sound good, right? I guess we talked on the phone or whatever, and it was about, I don't know, 9 o'clock. It was probably midnight or so when that conversation happened. And it was like 9 o'clock the next morning. And I had learned to identify all my doctors and nurses and stuff by their feet, by their footwear, because my curtain was, right alongside my bed and I could see under it, but all I could see was footwear. And thankfully, they all had individual footwear. So I knew who was coming a few seconds before I saw them. So I knew whether or not I had to be prepared and hide my weed brownies or whatever the fuck else I was trying to do to get me through 2.5 months laying flat on my back. And I hear this clunk, clunk, clunk of boots coming down the hallway. And then I hear this sound from this Texan, this standard country Texan sound that says, "We're looking for Sean Bradley. Where's Sean room?" And I'm like, whose fucking voice is that? I'm searching my head. Now, granted, these people live 9 hours away from me. They could not have possibly hung up the phone with me and gotten in the car and drove to visit me in the hospital. This wasn't when I broke my back. This was for something several years later, actually much more serious and life-threatening, which most people didn't really think it was all that much because I'd already gotten a bunch of, oh, attaboys and I'm sorries and all of this, right? So it had already expended itself, but not to these people. These people showed up, they hung out in my room for a few hours and they left. And they're probably one of the main reasons that I made it through that fucking stay in a hospital for that long of a time. I can't tell you how much respect I have for that guy and this guy right here who basically saved me. When Jeff Barringer at kingsnake.com and the former prick that ran US Arc, Andrew Wyatt, told him that they would not support a fundraiser for me, he went out and had the biggest fundraiser ever with people that still talk about that night to this very day. And you know what? He says, "Thanks for breaking your back. I had a great night out on it." You're welcome, bro. You're welcome. If anything at all could ever thank me for that better than this statement right here, bro, you're going to make me cry. You're fucking welcome. And I am living proof of all of this shit, of how all of what you just said makes a difference. I would not have made it in this hobby had someone not taken me under their wing. I would not have made it out of that hospital when I broke my back. I would have not made it out of that hospital again when I had surgery in 2017. Again, those people in this industry. I go off to fish for 4 years. I got ripped off more in the first year than I did in 22 years of reptiles. And I get absolutely none of my customers appreciating anything that I do for them, including going broke over it. So you know what? Here I am right back here trying to be the old me before all this bad shit happened. So Ron, thanks for coming on my show, dude. I'm glad you said yes. And I'm glad I could grace you with an episode with a number on it. So now you could say I did number 4 or whatever number this was.
You want to know? And
Number 3.
just an
Number
after
3, number
story.
4, number
When
4.
when I got the message, to be on it, I was watching a movie with my son. And my son basically he grew up in this reptile hobby with me. He's 16 years old now.
Okay.
And he was in those beginning years when I was listening to, a bullshit podcast.
Ha!
So
Sorry, his vocabulary is so
he
awful.
was, yeah, he basically he knew all the episodes because I was basically besides every other podcast I was listening at the time. So when I got a message from you and I'm right there watching a movie with my son, he's like, dude, is that Sean Bradley that's writing you? I was like, yeah, that's the guy from podcast. I was like, yeah. Dude, you got it like that?
Oh shit. Oh yeah, you got it like that.
You got it like that.
You got it like that. You got it like that for sure. I agree.
But the cool thing is, the cool thing is that basically, you're part of my growth. I gotta say, I have to be humble.
I'm proud. I'm proud to be a part of that growth, man. And you are an amazing hobbyist. You're an amazing professional. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, and I gotta say thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming back because,
sure, you're welcome.
Like I said, there is the evolution of this hobby, and there are new people that are coming in, and they need this. They need this. They need the podcast because when they're cleaning their snakes for like an hour and they're going through the collection, wondering why they're doing it and stuff, it's refueling their own passion. Instead of, like I said before, don't follow anyone else. Build up your own passion. And when you have someone that's talking to them in the back of their head and they're listening to that while they're going through their cleaning and they're working on that dream project that's probably 3 or 4 years down, they're going to see it's worth it basically because of what they're seeing other people getting out from it.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Limey says, I love this, or I like this Ron guy. Granddaddy says, Ron's really good people, not that fake shit. And I absolutely agree.
Anthony, only love. I got to say, Anthony, only
yes,
love.
Indeed.
He's a great guy. Lucas Landon, Kai, I got to thank you very much because I saw when he logged in this morning. Big shout out to him.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many people that, Brian's Reptarium, Samson's Reptarium. I want to give him a shout out. He's a fellow Rican in New York and only love for him. Sal Gomez, oh my God. Shane, I only got love for that guy.
Yeah, Shane.
Shane is he's like my brother from another mother, and I love him we got history. So Shane is a great guy. And there's so many people within the hobby. Earl Jones, oh my God. This is what I'm talking about. It's not about producing the next Pompeii. It's about going to those expos, meeting up with these great people, connecting with them, because they will be a forever friend. Forget about that snake because that mutation, that combo that just came out that everyone's driving about in a few years, no one's going to care. But that person you met in that expo is going to be always, that's going to be valued. That's what I want a lot of people to actually get out of what this actually has to offer.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, dude, and doing it on YouTube too, right? So you got your channel, you got BBM Reptiles on YouTube, which I am now subscribed to. You've already got quite a few subscribers, and I'm sure you're doing really well to reach out and get more. Dude, keep preaching what you're preaching, man. I mean, really, this is what works. This is what I think is going to get it done. And what's going to carry your name everywhere is that, just your overall demeanor, man. I mean, you're huge already. You don't need to grow anymore, right? You just need to make more snakes and get them shipped out. and get some clients and get some more people in Puerto Rico collecting stuff and talk to your government and get some more species shipped in so you can have more of a marketplace.
Yeah, I'm
God
like that
knows.
movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come. You
Well,
know.
I think you're right. And I think you've seen other people do well with it. I was surprised at the ball pythons that I've shipped to Puerto Rico through the Diaz cousins. You know, we moved quite a bit of nice higher end morphs down that way. And, you know, some puzzle stuff went down there from us. And, you know, if anytime I can put my gene on a new continent or a new country, yeah, it's a great day. And to find out that you have enough of an commerce there to where you want to keep and breed not only snakes, but also be your own rodent supplier, as well as maybe in some places other people's rodent suppliers in the long run. Who knows? It sounds like you're on the right track for a blossoming commerce to continue. So, you know, I mean, what else can we expect out of you? Like, how many clutches a year? What's
Um,
their goal?
I yeah.
Is there anything? Is there just a I'm gonna make stuff till I'm don't have time left in my day to take care of it?
Yeah,
Or what?
it can't be that big. It can't be that much. It's just enough to make me feel that I'm meeting my dreams every season. That's what it's really about.
Quirky's asked a couple times, and I did notice. Sorry, Quirky, I didn't really ignore it, but I never would really had to segue. But we can throw it in here in the last few minutes. I want to know his thoughts about the invasive iguanas in Puerto Rico. So, what invasive species do you have? Just iguana?
It's the
Just
green
regular
iguanas.
green?
It's the green iguanas. Yeah,
Regular greens. At which
it's
point are they really invasive? At which point they could swim across from one place to the next place? You know, I mean, I'm not really sure.
you want
You
to
know,
know
if this is
the green iguanas. They're surpassed Puerto Rico. You go to the islands. You could go to
yeah,
Curacao. You can go to Aruba. You could go to St. Martin, St. Croix, St. Thomas. They're all there.
that's
The
just
green
port
iguanas
city
are all
shit.
over there.
There's enough of them hanging on the outside of container ships and shit to do that. You know,
But we
I
deal with
mean,
it. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of people.
well, they
It's
mentioned
no
something
different
about
anywhere else.
iguana hunters there.
Yeah, they got people hunting iguanas just as much as they have in Florida. And they sell the meats. People are making shish kebabs out of them down here.
Is it good?
Um, I'm pretty sure that I tried it one time with us passed off as chicken. You know,
I got you. I got you. Island chicken, right? Island
yeah.
chicken. Because chickens live everywhere, man. Everywhere people live, chickens live. Yeah, that's what they say. That's how you get away with it. And I see you ultrasounding on your YouTube channel and stuff. I like that.
Yeah, that's basically
I like that.
it's anything that could actually help me learn better
Yeah.
what I'm doing with my
How
collection.
insightful has
It's all
that been
good.
for you?
Very good, as a matter of
Isn't
fact. As
it?
a matter of fact, it
I
tells
love it.
me, it gives me an idea. Because for example, I've caught in females that started to reabsorb, so it saves me pairing up with males, thinking that a female might go. I saved males from that and transferred over to other females. I've actually paired males with females with a single lock and gotten clutches from that single lock using the ultrasound machine.
There you
So
go.
it really, really does work.
18 to 23. Anywhere in 18 to 23 millimeters, you can just do once. Anything like that, once is all it takes. That's it. 18 to 23. Never before 18. Never after 23. Yeah, that's it. Limey says, I still don't do that. I'm guessing you mean ultrasound. Yeah. Good luck with that, Limey. You shouldn't do that. You should definitely not do that. For this man's future profit margins and my own, you should not do that. You should definitely. Ultrasounds cause cancer, sir. They don't cure it. They don't even detect it. They cause it. Don't use an ultrasound machine. No. Now I sound like Jeremy Stone of of the earlier days of me. That was like, yeah, I won't help you. No, look, you don't know, no. And then a week later, I go on kingsnake.com and write up like a fucking expose on ultrasounding in like the year 2004 or 2004. And Jeremy Stone posts the very first post. My Sean, you've learned a lot about ultrasounding in the last 7 to 10 days. And I was like, yeah, no shit. You didn't even like, you don't like, you got to tell somebody when they're calling to buy snakes from you, Jeremy. You tell them how to operate the ultrasound to make more money to buy more snakes. That's it. You don't hide the secrets. That's why I don't, Ron, that's why I'm not paywalling. Well, we'll do it in the name of Jeremy Stone. He came way before these paywalling podcasters did. We'll go all the way back to then. He comes before all my bad years and all my bullshit and all my tragedies even. We'll name it the Jeremy Stone's, the reason that we help everyone for free every fucking time. Because we can. And because it works. And because it's the way to make this hobby cheaper and easier, dude. Right? Like, where are you without those people in the earlier days of your hobby making it cheaper and easier for you? Like, thankfully, you came up in a time where people were willing to help you. And information was very free. Right? Because those of us, I mean, a lot of my information came to me by people sharing it, but a lot of the information that came to me was by me learning it hard on my own. Because the old guys would not help. They just didn't. You know, I remember a rat breeder telling me, I learned how to breed rats by failing, son. You can learn the same. And I'm like, whoa, thanks a lot for your help. I'll never buy from you. And I didn't. And that was the earlier days, though, dude. There was a lot of people in the earlier days that wouldn't help you out with doing stuff. I can't tell you how enthralled I was that the snake keepers, you know,
Yes, guys.
yeah, Dan and Colette put out. It's sad that I have this somewhere and I will find it one day. The VHS set of how to breed ball python videos. And there was literally 20 minutes in those videos just on ultrasounding. And that was when VHS tapes were in, bro. Like, that was like the earlier days of ball pythons. That was the first and only real authoritative compilation of ball python breeding data and information, was the Snake Keepers how to breed ball python breeding videos. And they were literally in a giant, like, encyclopedic like box that was made for VHS tapes that opened up, that had the tapes displayed in it prominently with all this shit. And there are, like, Limey might remember even when they had these tapes, but there's not very many people that are in this chat that would know when this was. But this was like 2000, 2001 was when they put these out. And honestly, TSK always had that information forward, you know, pro, let's help them do it sort of thing. And it's, I always said it's because they were colubrid breeders, Ron. Like, because they weren't like Python royalty people. Like Dave and Tracy were always of the, oh, we'll share it with you. We're going to write it in a book and you have to buy the book and you have to wait 10 years for the book. And turns out we waited 25 years for the fucking book, you know? And it's just like, dude, at what point are the royalty people out? Like, Nerd never did anything like that. Nerd never put out anything saying, here's how to do it easy. He just put out a crazy expensive price on snakes. Holdback Rack podcast says she got the Jeff Ronnie boa breeding tape in 2002. Thank you. You actually paid for it. One of my buddies paid for one in like 97 and got the 97 edition. And it was like old VHS porn. Like, it had static and fucking artifacts in it and stuff, but the information was fucking invaluable, you know. But these were VHS tapes, Ron, that these great people were selling on their price list that you sent them fucking. Yeah, he was through the fucking roof for it. Jeff Ronnie was very proud of that. At $50, I was like, fuck that. I'm not paying for that. And Limey says, I remember that shit, of course. Yeah, man, it was I'll be honest, that shit was really on, Ron, and it helped me out a lot. And I remember looking at ultrasounds thinking, oh my God, I want one of these things so bad. And me and my buddy that bought the video series together, Ron, we both looked at ultrasounds and we were like, do you know how much money these things are? Because this was before you had all these used ones on eBay and all this shit you could buy now. Right? Like, it was not. So why didn't I make it? I made a tape. I made a tape with my girlfriend, my very first girlfriend. I made a tape. I did. I probably still have it. I'm not really sure where it is, but it's not anything to watch. Trust me. I did make a tape. And it wasn't, because I didn't know how to breed anything back then. I really didn't even know how to breed a person. That was it. But we made a tape and I'm not showing it. So yeah, That's it, man. I mean, it is what it is. We had to learn the hard way, and learning ultrasounding was a matter of oh my God, release the tape. No, I will not release the tape. If I find the tape, I'll release the tape, and some of the husbands of reptiles, including, I'm not going to mention his initials, will be very upset. And he's already not ever going to come on this podcast, so we don't have to worry about him being that upset, I guess. But we're not going to leak that kind of stuff. That'll be private stuff only. Why doesn't Ron have a generator? Because Ron is a true hurricane pro, and true
No, I
hurricane pros
actually, if you
don't
see
need a
the light on,
generator.
it's because of the generator.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
Lights are on
we
'cause of the
have no
generator.
electricity here, but if you see
Yeah,
light,
just not
it's
at the snake building where the eggs are. He doesn't care.
yeah,
that much.
exactly.
He doesn't care that much. He thinks let snakes be snakes. Snakes are going to be snakes. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, at least I make these girls laugh. At least I make the ladies laugh some kind of way. So, yeah, dude. Great to have you. I'm very impressed. I knew nothing about you before these 2 hours and 18 minutes since we first met. 2 hours and 5 minutes since we first met, according to these people. But if they want to listen to the first 15, they can listen to it on the audio version next week or whenever I get around to uploading it. If I get a hurricane, because I'm kind of due for one, I guess, again. But hopefully you get power sooner than later.
Yeah,
You know?
the expectations by local government is next week, but realistically, probably in like a month.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But
For sure.
we'll tough it out.
Yes, indeed, you will, sir. And I have no doubt you will prevail. Keep rocking. Keep being awesome. And yeah, anything else you want to tell these great people?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on here. It's been a pleasure, honestly, and
I said
I
these
wish.
great people. I didn't mean me. I'm not great people, but all right, you're welcome. It was
But
back
besides
by-
that, for those of you that actually stuck around for these 2 hours just to listen to someone up here in the islands, and
Down
for
there
those
on
of
the
you that
island.
even come back for the replay to catch this again, thank you for taking the time for listening, and I really do appreciate it. I gotta say, this community is only as good as many people we can get into it. So I look forward to actually sharing whatever I can and learning from so many.
Yes, indeed. And I've enjoyed the background music too from the frogs and stuff during the whole entire podcast, by the way.
It's funny. It's not
I
drowned
wanted
off
to
by
mention
everyone
that.
else's generator.
Yeah, right. It's fine. It's perfectly lovely. Your sound has been great this entire time. Gilly hopes that your power comes back ASAP. Limey says, be safe, Ron. Peter says, great show, guys. Thanks for smashing that like button. I didn't say it at all. I was too busy talking to this wonderful man. I don't even care. Fuck it. Who even cares, right? Now it's on YouTube until they fucking delete it. You see? And that's it. Like, I'm not playing any shadow bannable music. I'm not talking any smack that would get us banned for any reason at all, regardless of how many fuckheads don't like what we have to say, even though we didn't play a single banner during any of this crap at all. I mean, I didn't play any of my banners for my sponsors or my patrons or, who cares? Who even gives a fuck about any of that? The fact that these people were here to listen to the both of us, I think it says a lot. And I think you say a lot for BBM Reptiles, my friend. So Ron Heisenbergh, or whoever the fuck you are, right? Keep on rocking. See, I didn't download the song from the show. I didn't download the Heisenberg, the mariachi band or whatever Heisenberg song. Yeah, I didn't do that. It's on Conan though.
Just say my name.
Just say your name, right? There you go. That's it. That's it. All right. BBM Reptiles, youtube.com/C/BBM Reptiles PR for Puerto Rico. Shouldn't be hard to find them. Just look for that little icon of the Breaking Bad guy and all that. And you got the right guy. So this is the right page, right? This is the new one. This is the up-to-date or being up-to-date one, or there another one newer than this?
No, that's the original YouTube page, and
got a new one
it's a
now.
work in process. It's a work in progress.
Okay,
Besides that,
all right.
Instagram, you can also find on BBM Reptiles. I mean,
Yes,
like,
indeed.
I go crazy
Gotcha
with
there.
that up there.
Yeah, he's on Instagram all the time. BBM_Reptiles on Instagram. Again, not hard to find. This fella is looking like a pro on here. sharing all kinds of things coming from Puerto Rico, family, ball pythons, all of his fun shit. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you very
Thank
much for
you.
doing the show. And
Thank
if you'd
you
hang out
again.
for me for a minute, I'll round out the show for these folks and get over to you. We really appreciate all you guys that listened in tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Catch up with you in a minute, Ron. All right, everybody. There he was. Everybody asked him to come. But you know what? I'm the most thankful that he said yes, I think. I don't really care about any of you that requested him on the show. I really don't give a fuck about Peter or Shane or the other like 6 people that were happy that this guy came on. I'm just happy he came on. How about that? That's all that matters. Thank you a lot. Guys, don't forget to go check out Reptiles to You if you do need that deal on shipping. If you don't need that deal on shipping, be sure you get over to Morph Market and check out BBM Reptiles because he's got some nice stuff on there. I kept eyeing up those pieds, the dreamsicle, yellow belly, and stuff that's on there looks pretty sexy. So go hit that man up for some amazing animals, especially if you have a airport within your backyard or within an hour and a half driving distance. It's worth having Delta Dash carry your ball pythons versus those fuckers at FedEx. They suck at their job, but we still appreciate the fact that they do their job. Don't forget the damn likes. Yeah, it doesn't happen enough. Likes and notification bells and subscribes and all that type stuff. Yeah, we were talking about that pre-show, and I don't know. We're going to figure it out post-show, a way to chase you fuckers into our likes and subscribes and stuff. But for now, good night, everybody. I'm going to get the fuck out of here and get over to this guy who's patiently waiting to go sleep amongst the noise of generators and those fucking frogs. So good night, everybody. I will see you later.